Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology.
I'm Dr. D Deepa from CSC department. Today we are going to see classes and objects in Java programming. So the classes and objects are the basic fundamental building blocks of Java programming. Object oriented programming, from the name itself, it is object is the prime part of a Java programming. In Java programming, everything is treated as objects. So with help of classes, we can create objects. How do? We will see with an example coding. Before that, we will define what is class. Class is nothing but a blueprint or prototype of the particular object, and this objects, whatever the objects we are creating with the help of classes. In other words, these classes are nothing but the structure and behavior of the object, which define the object structure mainly. And classes does not occupy any spaces when it is created. Main thing it includes in the class are fields, which are nothing but attributes, and which is nothing but the data member of the class, and methods, which is of functions, functions which define specific task given for the object, and constructor, which is a special method which and is used to instantiate objects. And it is the syntax to create class. Mainly it begins with as a specifier, class and class name, where the class is the keyword used to create object, and the class name which define the name of the class, which always begins with capital letter, and open braces. Within the class, we have a three important part of a class: fields, constructor and method. Fields are nothing but the data member of a class, and constructor is a special method used to initialize the fields when it is created. And then methods, method is nothing but used to define the behavior of the object, and which where the constructor will be defined with the same name as the class name and as no return type. As well as this method have return type and method name, followed by it you can include parameters and define the method. This is a common syntax used for creating class. An example coding where I created a class called student. Within that I have two fields called roll number and name, which is initialized using constructor. This constructor is more helpful for initializing an object when it is created, where I use this dot roll number is equal to, or this defines a particular object it meant for. And then display information is a method used to display the detail of a fields. And next is object. Object is nothing but an instance of a class. How it is created means we can create with a new keyword. So this is the common syntax used for creating object. Class name space object name is equal to new space class name. Within that you can pass arguments, or sometimes it may not have arguments also, where new is the important keyword used to create object. And this is simple example to create object for student class, where S1 is the object name, student 1. Like that I can create n number of objects. And mainly the object consists of three things: identity, state and behavior. The identity define the name of the object, and state define the state, and behavior defined by the object. Example, in this example, identity, the row is student 1 is the identity name for the object student. And then state is nothing but the attributes meant for the object. We can refer roll number and name as the state. And behavior, which is a method used to define the behavior of the object. Example, student is also a method, which is a special method called constructor used to initialize the object states. And then void display, it is another method. So this is another example, the whole coding used with classes and object, where I am creating an employee as a class name. So how do we save the program is always with the class name, where do the main function lies. So where I have a void main function in the employee class, so I am going to save my program with the employee.java extension. And here I have for the employee I created two fields, name and salary, and I have a constructor to initialize those name and salary, and to display the detail of an employee I use this display method, which is instant method. Inside the void main I create an object where always I have to create an object inside the main function. So this is what the syntax that we already saw, how to create an object using a new operator. Here I have created two employees, E1 and E2, E1 employee 1 and E2 employee 2, and their details I saved as Arun with a salary of 10k and Kumar with a 50k, which is a float point value. So it is 0.0 f I mentioned. The output of this program will be displayed using display method as shown in this figure. And then it is, now we saw what is class and object. Important difference between class and object: class is a blueprint, whereas object is instance of a class, and class does not occupy any memory space, whereas object will occupy memory space when it created. We can call the class as a logical entity, whereas an object as a physical entity. In the program we can create only one class, whereas we can create n number of objects as we require. For example, in this program we consider class name, I created a class called student node, that is the example for class, and for the student I created object called student1, and like that I can also create S2, S3 and S4 also as our requirement. Thank you.